The story begins with a wife mourning her dead husband. She admits that she hated him all her life, but she never wanted him to die. Theodore rejected her feelings, but the woman did not want him to suffer or be sad. The tears that dripped down his body erased all the bad that was between them. Sorrow ate the flesh of his wife. Despite the real sadness, the real feelings for Theo did not disappear anywhere. In fact, love lived deep in the heart, and all this time she was happy, but did not understand this loss. The soul was torn by thoughts that love lived, but it was not allowed to show itself. The feeling lived deep in the heart, and it was considered to be long dead and gone from their relationship forever. The entire subsequent story will be an example of how a person is aware of feelings and love for his partner, although he thinks completely differently. Since Lily Everett and Theodore Valentino met, the girl's father informed her that marrying Duke Valentino is her sacred duty to the family. Lily thought that her father had completely lost his mind. But the man, in her opinion, had long since lost everything human that he had. Also, his last proposal did not surprise his daughters at all. Duke Valentino's family has protected the Royal Park and Francis Square since ancient times. From generation to generation, a representative of this noble and noble family concluded a contract. An agreement was made between a person and a powerful spirit. But despite everything, the supports cracked. And during the last 10 years, signs of decline and ruin appeared on the territory of the kingdom. The reason for this was the conflict between the Duke and the Duchess, which until now remained a mystery to everyone. And the successor of the family, Camille Valentino, died. His place was taken by his younger brother. Theodore Valentino remained the only descendant of the glorious family of aristocrats and protectors of the kingdom. Due to a difficult situation, he needed the help of all the families of nobles and aristocrats. However, everything ended with severe social isolation of the remnants of the Valentino family, and Duke Everett wanted to gain full control over the last of the knights defending Francis Square. Lily understood that the ruin and decline of Valentino's ducal family could also be the work of her father. After all, he wanted to occupy an important place in the state, and therefore he sought to earn a living. Duke Valentino has always been difficult to disassociate from, and lately the support of other noble families has disappeared altogether. And the girl's father tried to subdue the Duke for money. This should have helped to finally take a strong position. Young Theodore could try to rebel and resist, but it could hardly help him. Everything could get worse. From today, Lily had to prepare for the wedding. The father's word was final and not subject to appeal. After all, the daughter could greatly help her family and her father's ambitions. The girl left the office. She thought that even a mollusk had the talent to roll. Lily thought that the Duke was a real handsome man and how he would react to being forced into a wedding. The girl had no confidence that it would be possible to break it. She believed that the father's chances were also close to zero. It doesn't look like Theo bought it with money or gold. Her brother Hisson distracted her from her thoughts. He was the second son in the family, and his relationship with his sister was strained. He always tried to somehow pick on the girl, and now she was ignoring. The guy asked if she didn't think that this wedding was too attractive an offer for her. The girl was also silent. Brother could not just come to talk. He got angry. The maid, who was nearby, was not jokingly scared. The young owner almost attacked his sister with his fists. He called the poor woman a half-breed. After all, she is a bastard. Hisson went on to say that when she became a duchess, nothing would change for the poor thing. Lily and that family will attract the shame and hatred of all aristocratic families. The servants heard everything. One of the girls, who were servants, came to calm the mistress. Lily thought that this girl had been here recently because the servants had not been so kind to her. Everyone thought that she was not a housewife. The daughter of the master of the house was sure that soon this girl would become the same servant who would hate her like the others. But Lily asked if she could continue tomorrow. The girl went to her room. In the corridor, she met the heir of the Everett family and Lord Lennon. Owen, the eldest of the Duke's children, did not treat his younger sister so badly. Lord Lennon, in turn, was delighted with Lily. He asked her not to address him so officially, and he reminded that every year the girl becomes more beautiful and beautiful. Owen walked up to the couple who were talking. He asked if the rumor that Lily was to marry Duke Valentino was true. The girl did not want to talk about it now. But she answered that all this is true, and right now the preparations for the XX wedding are starting. Owen thought that Valentino was a real bastard and always kept him out of good positions. And when the sister marries a competitor, they will be able to control him and always be ahead of their opponent. This time the girl will really be useful to their cause. Lily perfectly understood that in this house she was assigned the role of property and a simple tool, and now they just want to use it. And there was never a different attitude in her life. She was always called a dirty girl with dirty blood. She was also constantly reminded that she should bring so much benefit, so much effort was invested in her by her relatives. A long time ago, the girl was given the surname of Duke Everett. This was done so that the old man could solve matters with other noble families with the help of his daughter. He constantly had problems with power and government because Duke Everett was a miser who did not want to part with money and wealth, and a girl came in handy for him. To do this, he sought out a girl with silver hair who was supposed to play the role of his daughter. After all, he really didn't want to start his real one on the side so as not to lose authority. This dirty blood didn't even know who her real father was. Instead, she spent her childhood in the Duke's palace. She was constantly mocked, and the servants did not listen to orders at all. Lennon smiled like a fool, but promised that if she did not like Valentino in marriage, then he would be ready to take her as his wife at any moment. Lily thanked for the generous offer. Finally, she found herself in her room. Tired, the girl sat down on the floor under the door. Lily wished that this nightmare would end as soon as possible. She also wondered what Valentino himself thought. And will this marriage actually allow you to leave this house, which is already boring, and become free and happy? In general, it seemed impossible. But it is worth trying, there were no options. Her named father had spent many years trying his best to amass wealth and influence. For a long time, the Everett family was opposed to the Valentino family. The reason for this was the difference in moral principles that these two ancient families followed. Valentino always defended justice and honor. Everett thought it was nonsense. On both sides, a lot of blood was spilled and mountains of corpses were lying, who laid down their lives for the interests of the rich. However, Valentino's soldiers fell for a righteous cause. What can you say about their opponent? It was impossible, in Lily's opinion, that Theodore Valentino would start treating her well. The reason for this lay in the fact that she was, as it were, one of the descendants of the Everett family. But there was hope in my heart. The girl thought about those long 10 years that she lived in this hell. She did not find the strength to commit suicide, so she was forced to endure and serve the old Duke and his sons. And for these 10 years, she hoped that one day someone would come to her and be able to take her away from here and protect her from the ridicule and harassment she suffered from the residents of the estate. Soon her hopes will come true. Lily wanted to know as much as possible about her future husband. After all, she didn't have to meet him or even just see him at the coming-of-age party. Only gossip reached her, but it was very interesting to learn the truth. Everyone around him described him as a handsome and rather kind guy. It was clear that he was admired. If that was true, then Lily thought he wasn't right for her. Meanwhile, the maids and ladies of the court were amazed at what dress the Duke's daughter wore. Even one of the brothers asked if she really thought that frigid bastard would like her. It is necessary for her to sink into Valentino's heart, otherwise there will be no result. Now Lily understood why her father and brothers were so concerned about how she looked today. Everything is dictated by interest in getting benefits from marriage. The old Duke wanted his daughter to use all her advantages and charms today. In Leela, all this caused a simple smile and contempt for relatives. The girl decided to tease and mock the brothers. She frankly asked if they also thought that she would not look very good in this dress and should prepare better for the reception. Owen's expression showed that he was thinking about his sister. He believed that the sister was crazy. He ordered them to return to the room and change until the Duke arrived. Lily said her father told her to go to the garden and meet the visitor. The brother doubted that the Duke meant to go exactly like this. The sister said that with all the complaints he can go to his father. The girl was walking through the garden. She thought that the whole outfit was missing a shawl, but it was too late to go put on something else. The guest was due to appear in a few minutes, and Lily was not to miss his arrival. Lily was worried if Duke Valentino would fall in love with her because of her good looks and beauty. But the fear passed when the girl remembered that this was her only chance to break free and become free. Suddenly she saw Duke Theodore Valentino, her future husband. He was very handsome, so at least the gossip and rumors were not false in this regard. He was accompanied by a boy. The Duke turned to his companion and said that he would be with him constantly during the visit. The assistant's name was Carmen, and he wasn't too thrilled with his master's idea, but he agreed. Lily and Theodore's eyes met. The girl thought why the young man looked at her so strangely. Perhaps the reason lay in this really poor outfit. The girl disappeared. The Duke asked if she was cold because the silence oppressed him, and he decided to say something to ease the tension. After that, he took off his cloak and draped it over Lily's shoulders. From her appearance, Theodore realized that his bride was standing in front of him. The girl let his words pass because she was still thinking about how bad she looked in that dress. The Duke called an assistant, and the two of them went on. The guests headed for the carriage, and the girl looked after them in surprise and confusion. She could not understand the reasons for Duke Valentino's behavior. After returning home, Lily was met by Owen. He said that his father had spoken to Theodore, and Valentino was ready to marry the girl. The little plan of the brothers and the old Duke began to materialize. Theo could strangle and taunt her on their first wedding night. But Lily didn't listen to him. What she dreamed of so much was very close. The girl understood that Duke Everett pressured the young Theodore and forced him to marry in exchange for financial encouragement and help. The current king was not able to keep the aristocrats in submission. The ruler needed the support of two powerful families, Delattrois and Albinus. He himself could not adequately rule and control the nobility and aristocracy of his country. It was also not possible to click on them. These two clans were already under her father's supervision. He, like a cunning spider, spun a web around all the nobles who had influence in the kingdom and could support the king in his efforts to strengthen his position. Thus, Theodore agreed to the marriage proposal in order to be able to enjoy the support of the Everetts, and to prevent the North where he ruled from being reduced to ashes by arbitrariness. Owen even felt sorry for Theo that the Duke was being forced to marry to save his province. And his wife will not be a pure aristocrat, but of unknown lineage and origin. And when Valentino strengthens his position, he will get rid of the wife imposed on him in order to become free from all promises and oaths. And Lily could die at any moment. The girl is hard to believe. The older brother tried to provoke her into a reckless act. He longed for Lily to beg him for mercy and not do this to her. But he was wrong. The girl was not going to do this. Any of the options for the development of the future was more acceptable for her than the prospect of staying in the Everett house. In addition, the Duke did not give the impression of a cruel person and a rude person. Owen pounced on Lily. He grabbed her and ordered her to fall to the floor and beg him for help. The boy ordered the innocent victim not to squirm and to obey him. The girl was scared. Her brother showed his true beastly nature, and it is not Valentino who should beware, but her brothers. Meanwhile, the young man ordered to ask for his mercy. Without a victim, Owen will be sick. Hisson entered the room. He ordered his brother to let Lily go. Owen asked why the big brother came here. Probably, he also wanted to discipline the girl for misbehaving and disobeying. Hisson ordered his brother to leave the room, as he had to speak with Lily alone. Owen was surprised that his brother had secret affairs with their poor sister. The terrible brother ordered to leave the room immediately. Owen said he wasn't going to do that. He wanted to know what exactly he and his sister would discuss. Even if Hisson threatens force, he won't do it for nothing. This is final. Hisson took his brother's hand. Around his hand was a glow of mana. Elder Everett decided to use his abilities. Owen obeyed, but promised that they would talk about it later and in private. Lily was waiting for what Hisson wanted to talk to her about. He said that he does not expect great success from his sister, but she must try to seduce and attract Theodore Valentino. This is an important task. This became her main task for the near future. And finally, Hisson said that even when she left the Everett house, she would still belong to them. And even after death, it will be the Everett's thing. Lily didn't know what to say. She was confused, stunned by what she heard, and did not even know what to answer. Hisson praised the girl and took her cheek. The young man said that the sister will be a good girl. He said goodnight in a voice as cold as a winter's night, and Lily was left with her thoughts alone in the dark room. Dreams of a bright future began to seem distant and impossible. The girl understood that in this century, marriage has become a form of business and trade agreement. Former Duke Valentino sought to conclude a political alliance with the Albinese family, but he fell in love with the Viscount's daughter. He married her, putting the interests of the province on the altar of his own life. As a result, his material wealth did not become much larger, and accordingly, their military power also weakened. Valentino found himself in an extremely unfavorable situation. They have lost more than they have gained, compared to families who have arranged marriages of children. That's how Valentino found himself on the brink. The brother, telling all this to Lily, said that she was just lucky, because otherwise, if Valentino's position had been stronger, she would not have had any chance to marry the impoverished duke so successfully. The girl agreed with her brother. She said this in a calm tone that made Owen very angry. Lily wondered if her brother wanted her to let him in on a little secret. It sounded intriguing. Owen leaned toward his sister. He was looking forward to it. Lily smiled and said that there was no way she would ask for her brother's help. She was sick of people like him, self-confident and stupid. The girl walked slowly past her brother and finally wished that the entire Everett family would perish. She did not feel anything good about them at all, but believed that they ruined her life. Duke Valentino and old Everett were waiting for her. The father said that he was glad to see the bride in a good mood and so beautiful. She thanked him, but said that it was all thanks to his efforts. In her mind, she believed that the old man must have been happy because he had sold her so successfully. There was music all around, announcing the arrival of the bride. The ceremony was about to begin. Petals flew in the air. Everything around seemed like a crazy spectacle to Lily. She thought Valentino felt it too. There was nothing solemn in the air. The young man also did not give the impression of a happy groom. Lily and Theodore stood by. The priest announced to everyone that the solemn ceremony of joining two hearts in love had begun. Today, representatives of two ducal families will be united by marriage. In the evening, after the wedding ceremony, Lily sat in her room. She thought of the fact that the maid had given Theodore's order this afternoon about the cloak he had left for her on his arrival. Herzog said that the girl was willing to do anything with the cloak. It was useless and old. There was nothing surprising in this, because she was a descendant of the Everett family, who hated him. The girl decided not to take offense at this attitude of her husband. She also understood that there is no point in falling in love or getting attached to him at all. And in general, you should stay away from him. Lily remembered how her heart had skipped a beat when she first saw her fiancé. It only lasted a moment, but Theodore could see something. It was then that she noticed his strange look on her. Theo entered the room. He poured wine from the bottle. There was silence in the room. The girl felt somehow uncomfortable. She felt somehow strange. The air seemed to vibrate with something unknown. Theodore silently pulled Lily to him and kissed her right on the lips. He held the girl tightly. The wife did not expect this. She asked to stop and not to do anything terrible to her. Theodore let her go. Lily was wiping herself. She in no way expected a wedding night full of passion and love. The wife said that after the conversation, he could do whatever he wanted with her. The Duke was not lost. He bowed low to his wife and assured her that she was not against it either. The girl was confused. She didn't know what to say to Theodore about that. It remained silent. Theodoro kissed Lily's neck. His kisses were passionate and a little painful, but the girl still liked them. At the same time, she was scared and wanted very much for the man to master her. This was to be expected. The Duke has every reason to be rude to her. Valentino considered her one of the enemies of his family, which caused its decline. But the boy's facial expression bothered her somewhat. Theodore turned away from her. He said that was enough for her father. Lily couldn't understand what this weirdo was talking about. Meanwhile, the bridegroom took a pair of scissors and was preparing to strike. He carried the equipment high above his head and was about to lower it. That was enough to keep old Everett from suspecting anything. The result was unexpected for the girl. Duke Valentino pierced his hand. Blood was dripping from her. He said he saw no point in sleeping together. After all, none of them wanted this. It didn't make any sense either. Why suffer if you can avoid it? Theodore stood in front of Lily. He talked about not wanting to be a puppet in the hands of her family. He wasn't going to stand back and just watch. After some time, he will break up with Lily. And by that time, he and the girl will formally be husband and wife on paper. Lily was not happy about such a prospect. She was afraid of returning to her father's estate. It will be a new circle of hell. Deep down, she always thought that she was not ready for happiness. And now everything proves the correctness of this guess. Marriage was already undesirable for her. But now the screw has lost its saving power for her. What should be expected? Even when he and Theodore met for the first time, his look spoke volumes. I just didn't want to believe it then. Hope surrounded her and covered reality and the cruel truth with a pink fog. It was as if an invisible arrow had pierced her body. A deep scar remained, which was not known how it could be healed. The girl despaired. She did not want to live anymore and stop suffering. A few days later, in the Duchy of Valentino, Lily was touring her new lands. The ruins of towns and villages appeared before her. People were driven into hiding and looked around in fright at any movement. For the first time, the girl saw it in person. She was frightened by the appearance of the people who lived here. The young people on the outside were already old men. The reason for all this was her family, which caused the disaster. The maid noticed that something was wrong with Lily. The girl got scared and asked the hostess what happened to her. The Duchess was silent. She simply had no words. At that moment, the carriage door opened. Theodore was standing on the threshold. He came to check the cause of the noise, and I immediately understood why Lily reacted like that. What she saw shocked the girl. She lost her language. Valentino said that the reason is her father and brothers, who lost everything human in the pursuit of ambition. That is why his subjects are in such a deplorable condition. There was only one way out, not to look out the window. Lily was glad Charlotte had come with her. Accompanied by a maid, it was easier to endure all the troubles and terrible phenomena, similar to what they had just witnessed. The Duchess is grateful for the company. None of the other servants wanted to go with her. Only Charlotte, with tears in her eyes, asked to take her with her. She is ready to go at least to the edge of the world for a young housewife. Lily replied that everyone who was close to her always suffered. A thorny path was prepared for all of them, full of danger and contempt from others. Maybe Charlotte doesn't want to risk it. The maid leaned over to Lily and assured her that the Duke was taking care of his wife. He has never been like this before. It is worth appreciating this because usually he is withdrawn and sullen. Rarely anyone saw his smile. The man immediately reacted to the noise coming from the carriage and came to check what happened. In the depths of her soul, Lily was touched by her husband's act, considering his character and character. When the carriage arrived at Valentino's estate, the Duke approached and offered his hand to his wife. Everything looked beautiful from the outside. The servants were moved to look at everything that was happening. It was unusual for them. Suddenly, the girl slipped on the bottom step. She fell right into Theodore's arms. Lily felt embarrassed. The Duke himself also did not expect such a turn. Lily did not resist, but surrendered to the master's will. Theodore broke the silence. He offered to go to the estate, which was to become the girl's home for the near future. Everything around seemed cozy and friendly. Lady Annabella came out to meet him Seymour. She was Theo's aunt. She recently turned 40 years old and has never been married. Renee was noted for her difficult character and behavior and attitude. Now she believes that she has taken over the functions of the head of the family. Most likely, this was connected with the dying request of Theodore's mother, who asked to take care of her son until he grows up. Lady Renee congratulated the girl and offered to feel like a full-fledged member of the Valentino family from now on. Lily thanked for the hospitality and wished to get to know the woman better. Aunt called Theodore after her. She wanted to talk to him alone. The guy obeyed her, leaving his wife alone. Lily was confused by this attitude. She stood alone in front of the door. Charlotte led the hostess to her room. The girl could feel at home here. For any desire, she could simply ring the bell, and the servants would quickly appear to her on call. The girl asked Lila if she had any questions. The Duchess thanked them for their concern and dismissed the servants. She wondered how much Renee would allow them to live as a normal couple. Life was moving forward. Lily thought about her mother. This woman had a random night with some strange man and gave birth to her. The mother did not think that the stranger would leave her in the morning without even saying his name. The girl decided that she would adhere to the tactics of behavior that she had used since her childhood. She will do nothing not to stand out, and she will not expect anything from life to make it easier. And as soon as she will have any feelings for the Duke, she will suppress them in the depths of her heart. And there was an atmosphere in which it would not be difficult to do this. Aunt Renee won't let her get bored. Lily was sitting at an invited ball. Several days have passed since her arrival. The Duke kept aloof from her. Even the guests paid attention to it. Theodore behaved in absolutely no way towards his wife. The girl is already tired of these parties. They arrange for the sake of appeasing the Everett family. Theodore asked why his wife was sitting so sad and sullen. He asked for a moment. Theodore asked not to address him in a non-official tone. It is impossible for everyone around to think that he has feelings for her, and there is closeness between them. Lily was surprised at such an address. The man made it known that he had a firm intention not to stay married until his death. He believed that the girl was deceiving herself when she hoped for a long and happy family life with him. Theodore suggested not to get on each other's nerves and to behave quietly and not draw attention to yourself. Lily replied that she understood her husband. He thanked for understanding and continued to drink wine. Lily returned to her room. Charlotte asked how the landlady was feeling. The girl explained that the party turned out to be boring and did not live up to her expectations. The maid asked if the hostess wanted to go to the bathroom. Lily asked if Charlotte was being helped by other servants in this castle. The question was unexpected. The girl did not know what to answer in such a case, but the landlady demanded an honest conversation with herself. The servant assured that she copes perfectly with the work and the responsibility that rests on her. She didn't want the local servants to speak ill of Lily. The girls were in the same grief. Charlotte assured that she is actually a very strong person, and she knows life too well to complain about it. Lily worried about the fate of the servant because it was not fair. The Duchess understood that many people in this palace simply hated her, and provocations to new problems will only worsen the general situation. However, she could not directly defend Charlotte. The girls talked for some time about which of them would be right. Both came to the conclusion that orphans like them should always stick together. They were alike in their grief, like sisters. Lily asked if Charlotte wanted to return to the Everett estate. The servant was frightened by this question. The girl asked the Duchess why she asked about it now. She liked being with her mistress. But her plans did not include a return to the Everett family circle, and these two unfortunates found a spiritual companion in each other. The girls saw comfort for each other only in friendship, only in respect. Lily and Charlotte were like two animals licking each other's wounds. The hostess thanked the maid for her support and care, and promised to repay her for everything. The girls cried quietly. The next day, Lily ordered 2 maids and 3 maids to be sent to help Charlotte. The Duchess decided to show who was at the head of this house. The servants reluctantly came at the hostess's call. Lily immediately said that the girls were neglecting their duties, and in this case, they can be punished. She believed that they were behaving like children and should be held accountable. One of the maids replied that they have so much work that they do not have time to cope with, and the servants have to work constantly because the duchy is in such a bad state. It is customary in the palace that due to a difficult situation, one person does the work of 2 or even 3. Lily was angry because she had the impression that a servant would read the notations for her. This has never happened before. It was not important now where she was from and whose daughter she was. She is currently the wife of the Duke and Duchess of Valentino, and no one has the right to talk to her like that, especially low-born maids from the village. Lily decided not to give up the slack, and in a threatening voice she told the maids that if she did not cope with Lady Valentino's duties, she would certainly listen to their advice and teachings. And now they should go and do their work, and she will receive instruction not from servants, but from her husband or his relatives. But they were interrupted by a sonorous woman's voice as the Duke's aunt approached the group. She looked carefully at the butler and asked him to comment and explain the situation. The man stammered, but could not really explain everything that was happening there. Lady Renee believed that the servants were indeed busy, but this was no reason to shirk their duties. She believed that the maids should serve Lily as their new mistress. They listened silently. Meanwhile, the woman emphasized that conflicts should not be repeated, and she asked to pass it on to all the servants, who must henceforth obey their new mistress and the wife of their ruler. Renee turned to Lily. The woman explained that she had reprimanded the servants for their disobedience, and now there was no need to worry about their obedience. They will be ready to carry out any orders and obey in everything. Lily understood that in this way Lady Renee was trying to show that her influence in this house was much greater than hers, but this did not cause surprise, considering that the lady lived a life in the estate. Theodore's wife said that she would have no questions about the servants when they would simply help Charlotte and obey her. Renee answered that it is difficult for a young person to get used to a new place. The poor woman's wedding fell on such hard times for their province, and this additionally creates obstacles in the process of getting used to it. However, Lily replied that she would do her best to make a living as soon as possible. Lady Renee added that she was glad to meet her nephew's wife. After all, she wanted to offer her something for a long time. It is good for the new owner to inspect her possessions. The girl understood that they were trying to humiliate her. She was frankly fed up with this attitude. A whirlwind of thoughts flew through his head. First of all, of course, Lily thought about herself, her destiny. But thoughts about Charlotte and the fact that she could not leave the poor thing added to the pain. But Duchess Valentino gathered her thoughts. She replied that she was going to take a walk and explore the area in the near future. In addition, she is a little familiar with her after the trip to the estates. Lily turned around, wished her a good day, thanked her for her concern, and went home. Vana made it clear that the conversation was closed. Surprised, Renee and the butler looked after the girl. The Duke's wife came to visit the town. She was accompanied by Valentino's soldiers. They carefully watched that their mistress was not injured. People whispered and looked at the Duchess. As expected, Lily was struck by the poverty of the population. The greatest sorrow for the people was the lack of food and total hunger. She felt awkward in the dress and too luxurious for the people. The girl believed that this outfit was a luxury for the locals, but in no case did she intend to offend or show contempt for her subjects. They already suffered from arbitrariness and cruelty. On the orders of the Duchess, the soldiers began to distribute food supplies to ordinary people. Everyone was grateful for the products. People have not seen such generosity and understanding of their situation for a long time. But someone threw a stone at Lily's head and called her a witch. The aggressive attacker called her a freak of the Everett family. You can understand people, because they considered her family to be the culprits of their grief and torment. One of the soldiers attached to the Duke's wife rushed at the criminal. He knocked him to the ground and skillfully twisted his arms back and immobilized him. Everyone around saw the situation and was surprised. The assailant shouted that he must deal with the Everetts even at the cost of his own life. And the witch who possessed the mind of their prince was to burn in hell and suffer the same torments as all of them. The man sincerely believed that he was fulfilling a good mission and defending his native land. The stranger cursed the girl's father and brothers. He wished them the worst. A crowd was gathering. Lily understood that everyone around her was angry with her. But why did this happen? She simply decided to distribute food to the needy. All this was simply due to the fact that she is the daughter of the Everetts. However, her father was not related to her. But explaining something to an angry crowd made no sense. People's looks and facial expressions spoke for themselves. She didn't really have allies here. Everyone looked glumly at the Duchess. Lily returned to the palace. She had a tired look. The girl did not respond to Charlotte's question. The maid offered to eat something because the girl often missed meals. The hostess assured that she would start monitoring her food intake from tomorrow, so there is no point in worrying. She promised that it was the honest truth. The servant pretended to believe it. She couldn't get out of her mind the people she had seen today during her walk. Even if Lily decides to help them, they will still see her as wrong and despise her. But it is also impossible to do nothing. It is necessary to find a way to purchase the maximum amount of provisions for the population. She looked at the jewelry box. Understanding the situation of people, the girl could not just sit like that. Treasures were of no value to her. Human life was not worth all the treasures of this world. Lily decided to sell all the precious jewelry. except for those that were given for the wedding. You can buy food with this money. For the precious jewelry she owned, you can get very good money. As a rule, she would give the entire amount to the manager. However, she still has a bad reputation. She is considered a hypocrite. In addition, there will be problems if she sells her jewelry after being married for less than a week. With this, Lily could humiliate the Duke and insult him in the eyes of the townspeople and peasants. The girl thought about the magic pendant her brother had given her before leaving. She believed that spending money on charity was the best way out of this situation. In addition, it was not a simple decoration. The brother said that with the help of this magical artifact, you can follow the Duke. And this pendant allows its owner to change his appearance in such a way that even his relatives do not recognize him. Finally, this thing will be needed. With the help of the pendant and its power, Lily could assume the form of some knight or servant and calmly distribute the purchased products to the population without the risk of injury. So far, everything has been going very well. All in all, she thought she had come up with a good plan. But everything did not happen as planned. Theodore learned that his wife had sold all her jewelry. Lily thought she had been betrayed by the merchant, even though she had paid him. The girl tried to lie that she wanted to buy new jewelry instead of the old ones, but the man figured out that she was lying and deceiving him. He assured that in order to make money, it is not necessary to sell everything. Perhaps he as a ruler and his people as a part of himself experienced some financial difficulties, but still possessed the northern provinces. New jewelry could be bought with the money allocated for it. In this way, there would be no need to sell jewelry and lie. Lily begged for her forgiveness, and in the future she promised to be careful and to think carefully about everything so as not to cause trouble. The prince was pale. The wife noticed that Theodore was sad and seemed tired today. The girl remembered the rumors about the conflict between the Duke's spirit and Theodore. This could be the secret of his bad health. Theo got up from the table and said that the conversation was over. He said everything he wanted to. Thus, the wife had to take this into account and not do any more rash actions. The Duke was angry. Finally, he said that her efforts to sell the jewels and help their people with the proceeds were noble, but they betrayed the true Everetts in her. There was no doubt about that now. From now on, he will show this horror even more often. Lily thought that was all the man was going to say. She was attacked, and Theodore didn't even ask how she was feeling. Perhaps it was even to his advantage. After all, he could get rid of an annoying insect without even lifting a finger. The Duchess wanted to be alone, away from the servants and all the fuss. At a late hour, the girl still could not fall asleep. Inexplicable anxiety did not allow even to close his eyes. Lily decided to go out for a walk. The Duchess did not want to wake Charlotte because she was resting after work. Lily saw her husband in the garden. He was standing near a tree and silently looking somewhere. The girl decided to follow Theodore. Finally, it was possible to understand that the young man repeated the word brother. A branch under Lily's foot cracked treacherously. Theodore noticed his wife and quickly turned in her direction. He asked what she was doing alone in the garden at such a late hour. The girl decided not to make excuses. Theo was rapidly approaching his wife. He asked what she was doing here. The girl replied that she was just walking. The young man asked if she was specifically watching him cry and talk to his brother in his mind. Lily tried to assure that she was in no way spying on the man and had no ill intentions towards him. But the explanations did not affect the Duke. He was angry that he was caught in this state. Theodore quickly pulled his wife to him. He reluctantly began to growl at Lily. The young man warned that one should not rummage through the castle without an escort at night. She wouldn't find anything interesting here anyway. The girl made excuses. She really didn't want to see anything like that. Theo asked if she was actually out at such a late hour, specifically to take a walk and get rid of insomnia. Theodore could not believe that his wife had not called her maid Charlotte with her. It also did not add truth to the wife's words. However, Lily was fed up. She said the Duke could think what he wanted. The young man took Lily's hand and led him. The girl was immediately frightened, but quickly controlled herself. Theodore Valentino will not be able to do anything bad to her now, because he still needs her. Lily calmed down. Theodore led her into the room. He walked very fast, but his wife got tired of chasing him. Duke Valentino ordered no longer to leave his room alone at a late hour for safety's sake. Lily thought that this person would never be able to take care of her. His actions were difficult to explain, but they were definitely not dictated by care and desire to help and comfort in a difficult time. Theodore disappeared as quickly as they came here. Lily wanted to say that she wanted to talk to him again. However, she did not have time. This made her very upset and prevented her from clarifying her relationship with her husband. Lily stayed up all night. She was disturbed by the fact that she saw the Duke at the moment when he was crying. This was by no means expected to be seen by his wife, with whom Theodore behaved so strangely. Charlotte approached Lily. She asked what her mistress wanted immediately, but the Duchess was not ready to start the day's business, but it was worth getting out of bed. She gave the order. Charlotte brought a tray of food. The servant reminded that yesterday Lily had promised to get serious about her diet. This time the Duchess must eat the whole portion completely. There is no need to mention anything else. Lily asked Charlotte to tell the merchant to come to her. The Duchess had an affair with this man. However, it is desirable that no one knows about this visit. Everything should be done in secret. Lily understood that she needed to control herself and her reactions. After all, she lied to everyone around her about the fact that she was going to buy new jewelry. The girl was going to spend the money on food for people. Behind the Duchess stood a new maid. Her name was Gina, and she didn't care about everything that was going on around her. Therefore, it was possible to negotiate with her or simply hope that she would not open her mouth one more time. Although there was no certainty in anything in this house, Lily understood what most of the residents of this house did not like. But she will hold on with dignity in any case and will not give up just like that. The merchant arrived quickly. Immediately, he tries to deceive the Duchess, saying that there was nothing worth buying among the offered jewelry. The price was also minimal. But Lily was very angry with him because he took her money, but still told Duke Valentino everything, so he had a serious talk with his wife and had information. The girl understood that the merchant guessed about her status in the palace. She was not a real wife, but an object of agreement. In Theodore's hands, the girl was a mere puppet to be played for profit. But the man did not yet guess that she had many ways to take revenge. The turn of the last decoration has come. It was a really precious and very beautiful thing. It cost an entire small village. But the girl said that even he did not like her, although the gem suited her eye color very well. But Duke Valentino himself intervened in the negotiations. He promised to buy this thing for his beloved wife. The merchant was suddenly speechless. The man considered it a great honor to see the famous Duke Theodore Valentino with his own eyes. The merchant simply crouched in place, even stopped moving. Theodore ordered to leave the jewelry to his wife, and the merchant would receive his funds from the manager of the estate. The man rejoiced at the successful deal, and the Duke carefully watched his wife and her reaction. The girl was silent. Theodore was the first to ask if she liked the decoration, but the Duke believed that she should wear this pendant in any case. After all, this is a gift from her husband, and he really suited her green, as if emerald eyes. In addition, he was embarrassed to think that he would not do anything for the heiress of the Everett family. Lily took it as a mockery of her. She was still believed to be Duke Everett's daughter. The girl wondered how everyone around her would react if they knew the truth that she was not the Duke's real daughter. Would the opinion about her change then, or would the image and role still decide everything? Is it possible that Theodore would despise her even more if he knew the whole truth about her parentage? After all, she generally came from the lowest strata of the kingdom's population. It troubled her soul. The Duke came up from behind and asked her to brush her hair. He wanted to put the precious jewelry on her neck himself. It was an unexpected step for Lily because this moment had something romantic about it. The girl admired the decoration. She really liked the pendant. She thanked her husband for such a purchase, but at the same time, she could not understand what Theodore himself was thinking. And the husband quickly went to the door, leaving his wife again alone with her thoughts and feelings. Over time, she should get used to this behavior, or seriously talk about this topic. After dinner, Lily invited Lady Renee to a meeting Seymour. The woman said she had some things to say that the Duke's wife should know firsthand. The day after tomorrow will be the anniversary of Brother Theodore's death. Everything took on a new meaning for Lily. It became clear to her why Theo was crying then in the garden. He mourned his brother Camille. Renee asked if the girl knew how the Duke's brother died. It is important for her. Lily replied that the rumors said that Camille had died while he was sealing another rift. The lady began the story. According to her, Camille was only 20 years old at that time. Theo was younger. Renee's sister and her husband died when a new fissure opened. It happened very quickly and unexpectedly. No one had time to get their bearings. After that, Camille also died. His death was tragic for her. Renee said she had a lot of respect for her son-in-law and loved her sister. They were both a wonderful couple and worthy of the universal admiration and love of the people of the province. They were also good rulers. The lady burst into tears. Why they had to die so young was still a mystery to her. Until now, all this worried her. But the death of Camille struck the most. There was a possibility of treachery. The woman could suspect that representatives of the Everett family were responsible for the death of her loved ones. But if this is true, then her family had the power to control the cracks, their formation and development. But it was not possible. Camille was a good child. Since childhood, he was distinguished by kindness and attention to others. Everyone around him loved and admired him. Camille loved Theodore very much and always helped him. That is why Theodore experienced the loss of his brother so hard, and every time the anniversary came, he would get depressed. A memorial service was to be held the day after tomorrow. Guests and neighbors should arrive. Usually, the housewife took care of some of the expenses for the organization. She always helped organize the evening. She also invited guests, made a budget, and more. But since Lily still hasn't gotten used to the house, Renee is ready to take on these responsibilities. It sounded like a challenge again. The woman emphasized that mistakes cannot be made in such an important matter. Lily finally made it to her room. She was looking at the jewelry that Theodore had bought her. The girl remembered the events of that night, and she wanted to hug and pity the Duke. She did not know then what grief was tormenting him. But Renee's words could also mean a warning that his wife should not interfere and try to calm or comfort Theodore in any way. Lily had to know her place and not get confused. But it was difficult for her to watch his suffering. If one of her brothers were in his place, or even Lennon himself, she would not care what was happening in their lives. They are not capable of anything human. She thought the same about Lady Renee Seymour. People without a soul and incapable of emotions did not evoke any emotions in her at all. The exception was Charlotte. The girl wanted to be just needed. The maid was something special for her, but it is difficult to say who Theodore was for her. But the girl stopped herself in time. The marriage will not last very long, so you can't get attached. Lily needs to turn off her emotions and avoid having any attachment or emotions to her current husband. Feelings should be closed deep in the heart and avoid their manifestation in reality. The girl imagined a small box inside her. Now you need to collect all your feelings for Theodore and throw them into that box that closes with a key. For a moment, it became easier for Lily to cope with reality. She didn't want to think about some things at all. She was afraid that she might hurt someone close to her. But when a girl gets even a little attached to someone from this palace, she will definitely be unhappy. The day of the ceremony has arrived. Standing in the rain, Lily looked at the guests who had come to honor Camille's memory. Everyone around said that it was unfair that such a good person died so early. Some did not hide their suspicions that the Everett family was the cause of Cam's death. Theodore and his brother were to live long and jointly rule the state. Instead, there was grief because of the trick. Theodore approached his wife. He was holding an umbrella, under which he also hid Lily. He asked why the girl would hide from the rain. Besides, he didn't want her to hear gossip about it all. The ceremony is over. Theo and Lily entered the palace. An unfamiliar girl came out to meet him. She smiled kindly at the Duke. The stranger greeted her and said that she and Theodore had not seen each other for a long time. The girl introduced herself to Lily. Her name was Adelina Abinis. The Duke's wife bowed to the guest and assured that they had definitely not met before. But she had heard a lot of good things about her. Adelina approached Theodore and said that they have been friends with him since childhood, and they definitely have no secrets from each other. Duke Valentino himself did not think so. He didn't really like the girl. Lily remembered that there was a time when everyone around talked about the possibility of marriage between these two families of aristocrats. This would be very good for the Valentino family, and the development of their lands. But Duke Albinus was against it. The idea of marriage made him angry and indignant, and as soon as Lily divorces her husband, Lady Albinus can take her place, and will be more than worthy of it. Of course, if the Duke gives permission for it. Adeline noticed that the girl had turned pale. She asked if nothing terrible had happened, and if she should call the servants to take her wife to her room. Lily really looked bad. She was very nervous when she thought that Albinus could take her place. Duchess Valentino thought that her opponent was much luckier than herself. Theo's wife left him and his childhood friend alone. She didn't want to look at them anymore. For some reason, she felt sorry for herself. Theodore did not like it. He did not want to stay with Adeline. Lily was left alone. Worrying thoughts tormented her and prevented her from concentrating on something important. She believed that she had stolen a place from Theodore's childhood friend and did not deserve to be the Duke's wife. Charlotte distracted Lily from the pangs of conscience. She asked the hostess if she wanted to go to bed earlier today, because she was probably tired from the ceremony and got wet in the rain. The girl was worried. When the Duchess was already in bed, she thanked Charlotte for her concern, but she simply smiled and replied that she had not done anything special. Although she was pleased to hear words of gratitude addressed to her, Lily woke up in the middle of the night. She decided to take sedative pills. After all, the thoughts that disturbed me during the day prevented me from falling asleep now. The girl did not want to wander around the palace like a dreamer again. The Duchess quickly fell asleep. She had a dream, but the girl could not yet tell if it was a good one or if it would be another nightmare. But mentally, she adjusted herself that her dream is her rules. She definitely did not expect to see the following. Theodore hugged Lily tenderly. He was so gentle and very gently pulled her to him. The couple was very close to each other. It was alluring and frightening at the same time. The girl could not believe it. The girl pushed Theodore away. She believed that she had no right to be with her husband even in her dreams. After all, if her feelings give a crack, then Lily will become weak and vulnerable. She had no chance of making a mistake. The Duchess forced herself to wake up so as not to do something she would later regret. Lily woke up in tears. She felt something strange and inexplicable about it. I wanted to cry. The Duchess reassured herself. It was just a dream, it didn't mean anything, and it didn't force anything. Any fool could dream. Reacting to this would be simply stupid. Lily thought so and calmed down. Theodore entered the room. He gave the impression that he was drunk. The girl reminded that this was her room. Duke Valentino slightly mistaken the door. But the man wanted to say something to her, but he couldn't. Theodore knelt before her. The girl hugged him. She didn't know what to do next. Lily offered to seat him and call the servants to help him to his chambers. In the depths of her soul, the wife thought that the husband was drunk to the point of insanity and was now doing something stupid. She wanted to cry every time she saw him. But you need to keep yourself in your hands. The girl's heart ached very much. Sometimes it seemed to her that it would be better if it stopped altogether. This strange feeling haunted her from the moment they first met in the Everett Palace. Lily was afraid. Even then, the poor woman guessed that her heart could easily be broken, and she would remain dead inside after that. Grief will absorb her with new force, and it will not be the same as it was before. In general, that is why the girl decided from that moment on not to feel anything for her future husband. She decided to suppress all her feelings for this person inside. It is difficult to realize that he was special. The girl suffered. She did not believe that she could endure such a load, especially when it comes to Theodore Valentino. He definitely cannot reciprocate her feelings. But you should not expect or demand this from him. But despite all this, Lily did not want this moment to end. It was so easy and pleasant in her husband's arms that she forgot all her worries. The man broke free from her embrace. He couldn't believe he had done it. Despite everything, he dared to hug his beloved. He felt ashamed for such behavior. Theodore believed that he was mistaken or losing his mind altogether. This, in his opinion, should never happen again. The Duke was about to leave the room, but his wife took him by the shoulder. She didn't want him to leave in that state. Lily asked not to leave her. The girl asked not to leave her alone. She admitted to him that she was not Duke Everett's natural daughter, and she had absolutely nothing to do with this kind of monsters and moral monsters. Theodore did not believe a word she said. He believed that the Duchess had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. But her efforts were in vain, because the plan failed and will not bring her any results. The man was sure that the Everett family had ordered him to be seduced and held in subjection with the help of feminine charms. And that day, in the garden, she also tried to draw his attention to her. He didn't want to listen to her excuses. After all, everything was a lie from the very beginning. But the plan of her father and ugly brothers failed. Theodore will not allow him to be played like a puppet. He was a duke. The girl protested. However, the boy mocked her. He almost believed her words. However, she was far from complete success. Theodore asked how it is to seduce a person who does not even like. She continued to make excuses, but the Duke interrupted her. He said he didn't want to listen to any more lies. Theodore took her by the neck and said that he was ready to do whatever the girl wanted. Lady and Duke Valentino locked in a passionate kiss. The boy could no longer restrain himself and hold himself in his hands. He wanted it even more than Lily herself. The girl imagined this moment a little differently. Lady Valentino was sitting on the floor. The Duke pushed her there. He asked how it feels to kiss someone you don't love or even like. Did the girl like playing with his feelings like that? Theodore did not even say a word. He asked if the girl was ready to begin her immediate marital duties every night. After all, she loves him so much, if you believe the words. Lily was very offended. Tears streamed down her face. She said that Theodore does not understand anything. And the boy continued to say that even for the sake of a noble goal, the daughter of the Everetts was not ready to sleep with him. He left the girl alone in the room. Lily was crying. She was hurt that her feelings were crushed and trampled in the mud. It would be better if she was a monster like her father or brothers. Life would be easier. Such monsters were not capable of loving someone, and she was tormented by the question why she had such a difficult fate. After that evening, her husband's attitude towards her became cooler. He didn't even want to talk to her. Every time Lily tried to start a conversation with her husband, he found an excuse to refuse to spend time with her and talk. He avoided her company in every possible way. Finally, the girl got tired of chasing her husband. She said that she has a completely different personality than her father and brothers, and she perfectly knows the truth about marriage and its reasons. He was needed by both sides. But it wasn't even about love. But Lily does not intend to bring harm or trouble to Valentino's family. She is forced to marry Theodore because that is what her father wanted. The girl is just a doll in his hands. Frankly, Lily also talked about the desire to be more necessary to the Duke's family than to her own. After all, apart from suffering and torment, she did not see anything else in her native house. Theodore thought. He did not expect frankness from his wife. Doubt settled in his heart. The Duke, on the other hand, tried to see the essence of his wife. He believed that he was being deceived, although they were trying to provoke him to be sincere. Theodore began to visit the front line more often, where he fought against new cracks that had been growing and widening lately. This had not happened for a long time, and it required maximum concentration of efforts from him. The periods when he was absent varied. Once he was gone for 2 to 3 days, and sometimes for more than a month. Due to this, their meetings became even more rare. Time was running out, and Lily resigned herself to the state of affairs. The feeling that she would not be able to reach the Duke's heart began to take root in the girl's thoughts. Later, she found herself cut off from all family solemn ceremonies and evenings. She was alone. Lady Renee Seymour was happy to turn a blind eye to the disobedience of the servants in order to humiliate the already trampled Lily. But Lily didn't care at all. The only person who could offend her was Theodore. Only he could do it. Even when it was time to go to the ball in the capital, the girl asked not to take her there with her. He could easily attend this event himself. Lily said that she wanted to restore the abandoned greenhouse in the garden during this time. The wife wanted to grow healing herbs there and distribute them to the peasants and subjects. However, the Duke reminded that he considers her to be Duchess Everett and not Duchess Valentino, so he might not try so hard. Lily tried to always be kind to her husband, but she did not meet the appropriate attitude from his side. He was rude and impatient, angry when she imposed her company. One day, Theodore reported that her brother was interested in Lily. It's better to go visit a relative who was so concerned about her condition. The girl was losing patience. She believed that she did not deserve such treatment. Lily was afraid that no matter what happened, Theodore would still not come to her defense. Meanwhile, the brother talked about the fact that the girl would still belong to him, because he created it. She is his property and his tool. It seemed that the beautiful Lily was interested in many men around. They wanted to buy it. They were all waiting for Lily to divorce Duke Valentino. And then her family will use her again. Owen was already calculating the money and wealth to be gained by selling his sister as a second wife or concubine to one of the local rich. Many wanted to take possession of her body. Everyone was interested in the shell. Usually the dolls were beautiful on the outside, but empty on the inside. That is how she interested the surrounding aristocracy and nobility. She caught a lot of sweet looks at herself during balls or evenings. Theodore Valentino was forced to marry her because he was unable to protect his possessions. It was a marriage neither of them wanted. It was a formal agreement, but the trouble was just beginning. The worst part was that Lily loved this boy who hated her family so much, and she naively placed many hopes and expectations on him. This was the main problem. This was the most frightening. That is why she gave up. But 6 months have passed. Theodore Valentino suffered a severe head injury during one of his raids. Now he was confined to bed for a certain period of time. Lily felt sorry for him. Aunt Renee said Theo was seriously injured and lost a lot of blood while being taken to the estate. Fortunately, he quickly recovers his strength. Lily was seriously worried about her husband's condition. The news about the injury received during the elimination of a huge crack stunned Lily. Fortunately, Theodore was strong, so he recovered very quickly. The girl wanted to spend time with him. But now it was better for him to be alone. Lily was about to leave when Aunt Renee asked why she was leaving so quickly. She asked to wait at least until the Duke woke up, but the girl was stubborn. The wife explained that it was better if he did not see her right away. Renee could not understand what was being said. The woman asked to stay nearby for a short time and wait. Theodore looked out from behind the bed. He silently stared with wide-open eyes at his wife. Lily wondered why the man was silent. It surprised and disturbed her. The girl was about to leave. Lily apologized for disturbing his peace, but in response, she heard something that she definitely did not expect to hear. Theodore asked her who she was. Immediately, his wife did not understand the essence of the question. Lily could not believe what she heard. Immediately, it seemed to her that she was slowly going crazy. The girl still believed that she had imagined all this, but gathering her strength, she answered that she was a wife. Renee asked Theodore what he remembered at all. The woman was no joke alarmed. She explained that Lily was his wife, and they had been married for almost 2 years. He himself was recently injured. The boy grabbed his head. He realized with horror that he did not understand at all where he got to and what had happened to him until this moment. Fear was visible in his eyes. It was like general amnesia. But Renee said that wasn't quite the case. The Duke remembered many things from his past life. However, everything related to his wife disappeared from his memory. It was partial amnesia, fragmentary memory loss. It was worth waiting a little and see if he could remember about Lily and all the details of their married life. Auntie believed that a simple conversation should have brought back memories of Lily and their marriage. The girl first thought that in this way, the man's subconscious was trying to drive away all the unpleasant moments. Her feelings are difficult to explain. Losing her memory helped her somewhat. She could stay. Theodore asked the girl to come closer to him. In her eyes, he read something like fear or surprise. It was clear that she was not used to such good treatment. Therefore, it is better to find out the truth. Lily offered him her hand. The boy asked if he could find out her name. When she introduced herself, Theo said that she had a very nice name. The wife asked if her husband really did not remember anything. She advised to ask another person about her. This should have given him a complete picture of how to address and treat Lily. At this point, the girl decided to leave his company. Theodore did not want to let this beautiful creature go. He asked her not to leave him and stay at least a little longer. He asked to tell him about everything that happened between them, if it was not difficult for her. Lily believed that she too had a sense of shame, and therefore someone else had to tell all the details of their acquaintance and subsequent life. And now she wanted to go home and rest. The girl left the Duke alone. Theodore was sitting in the office. Charlotte informed him that the Duchess did not wish to see him. He remembered that the butler had told him about the reasons for the marriage. It was concluded for the sake of Valentino's survival. It was a sort of agreement between two powerful ducal families. The Everett family could materially and financially help Valentino. A year and a half is both a short and a long period of time. Theodore hardly remembered visiting the Everett estate 2 years ago. He was sure that he met someone then, but the memories were vague. It was also important that only the memories of Lily disappeared. The Duke ordered Charlotte to lead him to the Duchess's room. He was determined, and the servant did not dare to refuse him. And in general, it would be an unprecedented phenomenon. Another maid met them at the door of the room. She said that Lily had left the room recently and gone somewhere. Theodore asked who accompanied her, because she herself would not have done it. The girl fell silent. The man asked if the servant meant to say that Duchess Valentino had left her rooms alone without an escort. It was a routine for her. After all, it was repeated more than once. Lily often went for a walk alone, and no one but Charlotte wanted to accompany her. The maid replied that she was very sorry, but the Duke said that they would talk about it later. Theodore asked Charlotte what she knew about where her mistress had gone. The girl replied that she did not know, but the Duke did not believe. She spent too much time with Lily, so she should know her favorite places. Charlotte answered that the hostess often walked by the river that flowed outside the city. However, she did not know where the Duchess went for a walk today. Theodore understood that Lila had her secrets from him. He was determined to find out all the details. He entered his wife's room without permission and began to inspect everything there. The maids did not understand how to act in such a case, and Theodore considered everything in detail. He picked up an album in which Lily herself often left sketches. It was interesting for him. Charlotte began to understand why everyone around her was talking about the Duke doing what he wanted. He was usually kind to his people, but this time he was bitten by a fly. However, the Duchess was always an exception to the rule. It seemed that he simply tolerated her until a certain time. And the more and more often he treated her like that, the more she wanted to talk to him and earn his respect and love. But all efforts were unsuccessful for the poor girl. Lily suffered. Theodore found a jar of pills. He asked Charlotte what the pills were for. The girl did not want to tell that her mistress often suffered from insomnia, and that was the medicine. Meanwhile, Lady Valentino went to town. She distributed modest products to people, but this was not enough. Everyone looked at the girl with gratitude. She was not there for the first time. It is clear that Lily used the cover of a magical artifact. After all, people would not accept her and would not accept help from her. But thanks to her efforts, many of them remained alive. In winter, Lily brought and distributed clothes and warm blankets. Many did not freeze that winter, only thanks to her. Recently, the lives of ordinary residents of the province began to improve and become better. The cracks did not bother them with their appearance for many months. People are used to being constantly afraid that a crack will form in a new place and monsters will crawl out. Death did not hang over the inhabitants so much. Everyone believed that they owed this Duke. After all, thanks to his efforts, the cracks disappeared, and the monsters stopped their black terror. People remembered the union of the ruler with the spirit, the Seraphim, for protection. From the very beginning, the Seraphim and Theodora's older brother Valentino made the deal. But he died under tragic circumstances, and now Theodore became the defender. The Duke's power stabilized and strengthened over time. Now, the Valentino family had such power that it could independently cope with all the troubles and the influx of monsters. The Everett family was no longer needed as an ally. That is why the neighbors tried to regain influence. Lily thought that there was a huge possibility that she would soon divorce her husband. It did not depend on whether he remembered anything about X's family life. Their positions remain unchanged. The Duchess was about to leave. One of the local women asked why the stranger spent so little time in their town. The girl promised that next time she would bring vegetables and fruits for the children. Suddenly she heard a voice from the crowd. This voice was very familiar and belonged to a man. The man yelled loudly and angrily at someone and threatened violence if someone did not get out of his way. An angry voice called everyone present and the residents of Valentino in general, lice and waste. He believed that they were not even worthy to be called people, and his anger over time can simply destroy them all. Lily recognized her brother, Hisson. The girl wondered how it happened that her brother ended up in the province. He used to visit here often because he was spying on his neighbor's property, but now he behaved aggressively. The girl asked a passerby what was happening here. Meanwhile, Hisson aggressively asked someone how he dared to insult and speak ill of the famous Everett family in his presence. At first glance, it became clear that the attitude of the people of the province towards Duke Everett's family had changed. Before, they were simply hated, but lately they started mocking and showing disobedience. And Hisson had a hot temper. He could not bear to see his father and his brother humiliated. That's why he reprimanded someone menacingly in the square. But there was no result. He is forced to shut up. But the elder brother was not going to calm down so easily. He picked up a sword and threatened to kill. In his opinion, he could calmly cut off the tongues of those present or cut their throats. But the crowd is crazy. People believed that he had absolutely no right to threaten them and make decisions for them. They themselves were the owners of their lives. Only Duke Valentino could command. A man from the crowd pointed out that even the dogs in town know all about the infamous Everett family. Someone from the audience pointed out that the young man was very similar to one of the sons of the cursed Duke. Hisson didn't think he was in a dangerous enough situation. He simply mocked the Jews, calling them dumb-headed Seljuks. However, the crowd was losing patience. The desire for revenge ignited in the hearts. Hisson's abuse. The girl had to stop this masquerade. The Duchess went undercover to her brother. She called herself Mia. The girl said that she works as a maid in the Everett Palace. She asked to forgive her for interfering. In addition, Lily asked for all the people so that they could avoid the punishment of the cruel aristocrat. People were just scared, and their nerves gave out. None of them had had an education since childhood. They were dark people. The picture was completed by the constant attacks of monsters and magical creatures that were fought. Mia asked for forgiveness for all people. She wanted Hisson to show mercy to the poor people, but the brother did not hear her. He thought she was very kind for a maid, and the manners were very good as for a servant. He suddenly pulled her to him. The boy asked what she had decided to create. "Have you found a new hobby?" Lily was scared. How could he see her under the protection of the amulet? After all, it worked perfectly. Hisson ordered to remove this disgusting shell. Lily is forced to obey him. Bharat wondered why she decided to walk around the city in the guise of a maid, to which the girl replied that she had reasons for that. Hisson let go of his sister. He asked if she was really going to marry Chester Lennon. The girl replied that it was none of his business. However, the young man himself did not think so. He ordered to continue serving the Everetts. Out of nowhere, he was on horseback and ordered the couple to stop. Lily thought that the situation was not pretty, because she was standing with her hands tied in the company of her older brother. The Duke angrily asked what this scoundrel was doing with his wife. The young man replied that since then, Theodore Valentino has been interested in what is being done with his wife. Before that, he had not noticed such concern. Hisson asked why Theo would treat a girl he hated like this, but now it seemed that she was his main treasure. Most likely it was just posturing on his part. Lily stood behind her husband. She was afraid that her brother would tell something extra, and this information would allow to complete the picture after the loss of memory. However, it will be incomplete and distorted. The girl decided to take the situation into her own hands. She asked Hisson to stop playing pranks and behave like a serious young man. After all, his antics could harm the common cause.